What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Confidently Flawed, Danny and Brooke here. We have an interesting topic that we haven't really talked about before. And it's kind of interesting too, because, and Brooke, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the complete opposite diet that Brooke is on right now. So it's going to be kind of an interesting conversation. But we get I wouldn't say a lot of people, but we get a good handful of people that come in that are vegan or vegetarian. And when you come into Raw Fitness, we are by no means going to force you to do any type of style of eating, whether that's vegan, whether that's paleo, whether that's keto, whether that's whole foods, or carnivore, right? Like it really, to us, it doesn't matter in terms of like what it is that you want to do. We just want to give you accountability and support in terms of like what is important for you. So if you are vegan or vegetarian and you have goals with your body composition, and we'll probably touch more on like building muscle here more so than like losing body fat, but they kind of go coincide with each other. The main difference is just how much calories are you consuming. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, a lot of it's going to come down to, first, you need to make sure you're strength training. If you're not strength training, it's going to be very hard to either lose body fat or gain muscle, regardless of what your goal or objective is. So make sure you're doing that. And then the rest of it's going to come from diet. And the main things that I want to consider when somebody is vegan or vegetarian is, obviously, the main one is to make sure you're getting enough protein in. And we use a rule of thumb is, no matter whether you're vegan, carnivore, doesn't matter. If you take your current weight and times it by 0.6 and then do the same at 0.8, if you can fall within that range of, that's how many grams of protein we would recommend for you to do. So like vegans, it might be hard for you to get that much protein in. So say I'm 150 pounds and I do 150 times zero point 0.6, that's 90 grams. That means I should bare minimum get 90 grams of protein in. So if you're vegan and you're getting under 90 grams of protein, make that your first objective. Okay. And you start to do that, you're going to get, the adequate amount of amino acids and nutrients that you need in order to gain the muscle or lose the body fat. The one thing that you just got to be careful with is trying not to overconsume processed foods, for one, because you see that a lot in vegan vegetarian diets. But two is your carbs and your fats. Is a lot of your proteins are going to come from plant-based, obviously, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to overconsume the carbs and fats to where your calories are way out of control just from trying to get in 90 grams of protein. So one thing that I would recommend is choose either a carb source or more of a fat source as your primary way of getting in those plant-based proteins. Preferably probably a carb source, because fat calories can just skyrocket pretty quickly. So my recommendation is try to keep your fat, a little bit lower. You're still going to want fat because you're not getting it from animal proteins, but just don't try to over consume fat as your source of protein. Try to get it mainly from carbohydrate-based protein. So think more like chickpeas and things along that line, or beans, or like beans and rice and things like that. So making sure you're getting, 0.6 grams or 0.6 your body weight equals the minimum amount of grams that you should have, and then choose either a carb or a fat. I recommend carb as your primary plant-based source to get that protein in, and then keep your fat a little bit lower. But if you like fats more, you can do it the opposite. And then from there, it's just playing the numbers game of calories. If you want to lose body fat, drop the calories. If you want to increase muscle mass, make sure you're eating more than you burn. And you do that, and then just being careful of not over consuming processed foods, and you incorporate the strength training. That's the key to success when it comes to building muscle and losing body fat if you have a vegan or vegetarian diet.
I think those are great tips. I It was interesting when we were trying to come up with topics and, Danny had brought this up. My first reaction was like, whoa, couldn't be any more opposite of what I'm doing because I am literally eating a carnivore diet. But the thing about life is that we are all very unique. We are all very different. And with different bodies come different opinions and different beliefs. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we all have different opinions and how we want to eat. And so while no, for me, a vegan or vegetarian diet doesn't work, for someone else, it might literally be their saving grace. And so I think it's so important to still be knowledgeable on all of these. And so with that being said, spending some time prepping for this episode, looking over some things, Danny hit on it. My one major point that I just wanted to share was try to avoid as much processed stuff as you can. Unfortunately, with plant-based ingredients and plant-based items, I should say, there is a lot of processed foods. There is a lot more kind of hidden ingredients that could cause inflammation and can cause digestive issues. So keep your eye out with that. But there has been so much progression with our food system in the sense of like making things easier for people with, for example, gluten allergies, dairy allergies, and vegans, vegetarians. Like nowadays, everywhere you go, every restaurant, every grocery store, they have options. And I think that's beautiful. And so there's options of protein filled vegan items. And when we're talking about gaining muscle and being able to lose weight and gain muscle and be strong and feel good, yes, protein is important. I will stand on the top of the hill for the rest of my life saying that, like, we need protein. I don't care if you are vegan. I don't care if you're omnivore. I don't care if you're carnivore. You need protein. And again, how much progression our food system has had. There's so many items out there that are plant-based that have wonderful amounts of protein. So keeping your eye out for that. Off the top of my head, I know of some wonderful, wonderful like plant-based protein powders. And yes, those are processed, but there are some really good quality plant-based protein powders, and that's a wonderful way to get in your protein intake. Put a little bit of protein powder in your coffee, put a little protein powder in a shake, put a little protein powder in whatever that may be, that just to try to add some. I think that is going to be so beneficial. And again, I agree with Danny, trying to find your carb and fat sources that have protein as well. Chickpeas is a great option. Danny's actually the one who turned me on to like chickpea pasta and chickpea. So having that pasta that's protein filled and it's filling and it feels good and you're still getting that protein intake. I can promise you, if you are doing a vegan or vegetarian diet and you are prioritizing your protein, you are going to feel great and you are going to see the results. But if on the contrary, you're doing a vegan and vegetarian diet and you are staying away from protein and you are focusing on the carbs, you're not going to see that progression. So if you are listening to this and this is the route that you're taking, first off, wonderful. Like as long as you feel good and it's what you believe in, like go for it. I'm all about that. I support that, even though I might not myself understand it. Like I have mad respect for it. And I think that's a beautiful part of life. But again, biggest thing I say is stay away from the processed foods as best as you can and try to make sure your protein intake is there and you're golden.
Love it,
So
Brooke. Appreciate your feedback coming from the carnivore diet, but I love your approach. I love your willingness to be open and have an understanding that for some people this works or it fits into their, background or culture or whatever it is, right? So, you kind of heard it here, guys. It's all about the protein. It's all about watching out for the processed, carbs in particular. So if you can do those things and do some of those other tips that we talked about today, you're going to be well on your way to doing the vegan lifestyle in the right way for your body composition. So hopefully that helps. If you found value or you know somebody else that is vegan or vegetarian that may benefit from this, share it with them, give us a rating and review, and we will keep dropping the knowledge for you on another Confidently Flawed episode.